10, it's 67 degrees in Little Rock at KARN. Beautiful Tuesday morning in Central Arkansas. I appreciate you listening today. Second District Congressman French Hill is on with me this morning. We've been following what's been going on with the VA solar panel issue. And Congressman, good morning to you. How are you doing today?
Kevin, good morning to you, sir. What
is the latest on this? As I understand, you've discovered a little bit more about the VA solar panels, them being installed, not being connected. What do you know now?
Well, just to keep you fully apprised, we've yet to receive any answers to our questions from Secretary McDonald. So last week I went on the floor of the House and offered an amendment to block any more money being spent on these sorts of projects during this fiscal year. It did not pass. It was withdrawn after I had the commitment from the chairman to help me get an inspector general working on this at John Bozeman and mine request. So the mystery continues.
Why do you think it's so difficult to get an answer on this issue? I mean, the understanding is these solar panels were installed at VA properties. We know they were installed in Arkansas, maybe at other locations around the country too. They wouldn't work with the electrical grid, so they were there, never connected, now being removed to build.
Yeah, they were there for 2 years, never connected. And my number one question is, which I don't have any problem with federal facilities using solar power. That might be a perfectly good idea. But where's the planning? Where's the execution? And for 2 years they weren't hooked up. And I have this great fear this is a problem across the country, and I want to know why. And then secondly, they knew they were going to build a parking garage before they installed the solar field, and now they're tearing it up to reinstall them. And I want to know the cost of that and how that was planned. So,
well, even if they
reinstall management,
even if they reinstall them, I mean, you've still got the issue with the electrical grid, do you not? Is it going to work later down the road if they install them again?
Well, that's true, but hopefully they've learned their lesson now and have a plan on hooking them up. That's what I've heard. So we'll see. But the bottom line is mismanagement. When we have a need for people waiting for service, we found out that Secretary McDonald said yesterday that he fired all these people. It turns out he hadn't fired them on the ones who are not performing adequately through the system. So the VA is an agency, as I've said before, that cannot get out of its own way in making good management decisions.
French Hill, he's the second district congressman. He's on with me this morning. Why do you think it's so difficult to get the right answers out of the VA? Is it just cumbered down with management, or or does somebody just not want to speak out on what the issue really is?
I don't know why. There's no excuse for it. All of us as hardworking taxpayers are paying our money to these federal agencies to provide services to our beloved and treasured veterans, and we don't get answers to our most basic questions, including in a public hearing 2 weeks ago. John Bozeman asked the secretary. He didn't get answers out of him in a public hearing either. So John Bozeman and I are not going to quit till we get answers to our questions.
I appreciate that. It's French Hill on. French, you have got a real focus right now on small business. If you would explain what you have happening.
Well, this is Small Business Week, and one thing that caused me to run for Congress and try to represent Central Arkansas ably is the fact that I believe the government's grown so big, so complex, that it's holding back the progress of businesses. And that's based on the fact that this is the lowest rate of business formation in 30 years. And America's reputation as a place to form businesses has dropped dramatically over the years, which is amazing to me. We're now 46th among World Bank reports in being able to start a business. And in 2007, we were ranked third in the world. And that's, in my judgment, because of the regulatory climate and the complexity that it creates across all lines of business. As a banker, I certainly saw that in community banking.
The regulatory climate also, too, do you feel like in many instances you've got such large corporations out there, they're competing at a different level, and it makes it an uneven playing field for a small business to even get off the ground?
Yeah, I mean, and small business to me can be fewer than 500 people. I mean, it's family businesses, mom and pop businesses, all the way up to fairly large businesses like our community banking company that I formed and ran. We had 135 or so employees. I mean, these are all small businesses. And they have to compete with big business that just absorbs the cost of this regulatory system, doesn't fight against it, just absorbs it and passes that cost on to consumers. So in my view, our regulatory system curtails small business innovation, makes it harder for young people to start a business, and it puts businesses on an unequal playing field because larger enterprises just become almost government agency-like in their absorption of those costs.
What's the first step to correct that problem?
Well, number one, I think we need to try to bring common sense back to the regulatory system. I mean, you just wouldn't believe the morass of paper, and that's what I'm fighting against. The Department of Labor last week proposed a new rule for making every broker act as a fiduciary for every individual in their IRA account or their company 401k account. And I'm not a big fan of that idea, but their proposed rule was 1,000 pages long. 1,000 pages, one rule. It's not a law. It's a rule about acting like a fiduciary as a broker. And as a congressman, I want to read it and understand it in order to have an official opinion on it. Now think about that. I mean, our government is out of control when it comes to that kind of complexity, and you can expect it to have a deleterious effect on anybody trying to start a business or trying to run a business.
Well, you got to look at it like this. At least somebody has a job coming up with a 1,000-page idea, right? there's always a positive side to this, okay?
Oh, I'm so glad you're a cup half empty guy.
You're a hoot. Hey, Congressman Fred Schill, pleasure to speak to you this morning. Thank you
All
very
the best,
much.
Evan.
Have
Talk
a great
soon.
Tuesday.
Bye.
Hey, it's 8:16. It's News Radio 102.9 KARN. I'm